What's goody? Hey man, so today we are coming back at y'all with another video, dog, and today we are going to be talking about our 5 breakout players for next season. Now, I want to start this video off by saying breakout can mean different things for different guys. It could mean an all-star breakout, it could mean an all-NBA jump, it could just mean a guy makes his way into the rotation, it could mean a guy takes a starting job. There's different levels of breaking out depending on what you have previously done in your career as an NBA player and also what has been expected of you to this point as an NBA player, right? I'm not going to have Cooper Flag up here as a breakout because I think he's going to make an All-NBA season when Cooper Flag was just the first overall pick. You know what I mean? I don't think that's not. I want to shout out some guys here who aren't guaranteed to break out. First of all, I want this to be kind of a, my opinion type of thing where it's not 100% some of these players that I name and these takes could age terribly. I want it to be kind of that. I want to leave some room for me to be wrong. So I want these to be a little bolder, but I also kind of want to shout out some guys who you may not have heard of if you're a more casual NBA fan. If you're a guy who hasn't watched college, who hasn't watched the draft too much, or who hasn't watched Summer League, or who didn't, or did any of those things, I want you to be able to tune into your whatever game you want to watch from your favorite team this season and look at these few players and see, okay, boom, these are guys that I'm supposed to be looking forward to see what they can show me this season, because these are guys that last season didn't do a lot, and I expect them to do more now, right? So, boom, we are going to start off with Kaman Mayuach, man. This is a guy who is one of those cases where breakout kind of means he breaks his way into the rotation, and eventually I think he will take a starting job, because I've absolutely loved what Kaman Mayuach showed in Summer League. His rookie year definitely didn't go the way I expected it to. I was a guy who loved Kaman Mayuach coming out of Duke, and I really kind of expected him and Mark Williams to be kind of like a 1A, 1B type of center duo over there in Phoenix as his throughout Mayuach's rookie season, and that just kind of didn't really happen, which is fine. I don't think that's a bad thing, and I don't think that means he was just terrible or not ready for the NBA. I just think that was more of a, they wanted to develop him for a year and didn't want to throw him out there kind of to the wolves too early, which I think good decision, especially with the way he looked in Summer League. He looked much improved in Summer League this year, even from what he looked like coming out of college. And I think he really absolutely showed us who he can be in this Summer League, man. He was obviously looking very athletic. We all know he's very tall. He's a real 7-footer, which makes him a phenomenal lob threat throughout the Summer League. If you just went and you looked up Kaman Mayuach highlights from the Summer League, half of the plays are probably lobs. Like, genuinely. Like, his ability to either screen and roll and just catch a lob, or just kind of sit in the dunker spot and be able to know when, or be able to tell and have the timing to recognize when a defense is collapsing on a guard or when a defense is collapsing on a player that's driving. He just kind of has the feeling to be able to say, okay, boom, I'm not going to clog the paint too early. I'm going to cut to the lane. I'm going to cut to the basket right now, so that way whoever this is can throw me the lob at the perfect timing, rather than me cutting too early and just bringing another body into the paint for him and not giving him another outlet to pass it to once he gets to that clogged paint, right? I really love that. I think he's a phenomenal rim protector. I think he has a rim protector / shot blocker. I kind of can't really tell which he is yet, because I think there is a difference between rim protecting and shot blocking. And I feel like the Summer League sample size wasn't quite big enough for me to be able to tell which is really going to be his bread and butter. I feel like he's going to be a little bit more of a shot blocker. But you have him and Mark Williams, who are 2 rim protectors, 2 shot blockers, 2 guys who you trust to kind of anchor a defense, at least when it comes to guys not coming into the paint and just dominating them, right? And the way he shot in Summer League, if he can continue to shoot throughout his NBA season, granted not on a crazy attempts or anything like that, but just an efficient clip on his 2 or 3 3-point shots a game that he might get, if he can shoot like that throughout the entirety of the season, he will be the starter in Phoenix. I don't think it will take too long. His ability throughout the Summer League to kind of, and not even just in the corner, bro. It was like he was catching it on the wing, and don't get me wrong, it's not pull-up threes or anything like that, which is good to me. I don't want my center taking pull-up threes, unless it's literally Karl-Anthony Towns, and even then, give Jalen Brunson the ball to an extent. You know what I mean? But his ability to just catch and shoot on the wing, to catch and shoot from the corner, to catch and shoot from really kind of anywhere, but especially on the wing, I felt was very good. Obviously the shot's a little slow, but he's 7'1", so you're not really worried about anybody blocking it. It looked pretty fluid. It's not like his misses. It's not like his makes were where it was kind of fortunate. Like, these were swishes. These were good shots. These were in rhythm, fluid, good looking 3-point shots that I think have a real chance to translate into his real NBA career. I absolutely love what he showed in the Summer League, and granted, it is just Summer League, but I think if he can shoot the ball like that while continuing to be the lob threat and the defensive player that he is, you'll be looking at a real candidate for most improved player. With that being said, I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to burst onto the scene and start averaging 18 points per game, 8 or 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. But he's going to be a very good defensive center, and I do think he's going to be a guy that will make defenses pay for kind of lackadaisical or forgetful defense, because you can't leave him on the 3-point line, like I said, and you also got to worry about him on a roll or when he's playing in the dunker spot or anything like that. So I do think Kamau Maiwatch is a guy that I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what he can produce in the NBA this season. Next, I've got Jace Richardson of the Orlando Magic, and I think of all the guys, I've got 5 guys on this list. I think this is the one that I think I'm probably the least confident about, and that's mostly because of just the guys in front of him, right? You still have Jalen Suggs and Anthony Black, who are going to be the 2 main point guards ahead of him, because I'm assuming he's going to play more of the 1. If he's just a little too undersized to me to play the 2, unless you're going to have him out there with like an Anthony Black, and you can kind of switch where they're playing the 1 and the 2. But even if you go to the 2, like, he still has Desmond Bane in front of him. You know what I mean? So no matter whether you're playing him at a 1 or a 2, because he is kind of a combo guard in spite of his size, there's still going to be guys in front of him. And they did also bring in Javon Carter. I think it was in like around the trade deadline. And that's another veteran point guard that I could see the Magic trusting over the young guy, especially if he doesn't show a lot during the regular season or early in the season. But I am a big fan of Jace Richardson, man. I think his shooting upside is something that the Magic will desperately need. I think it's something that the Magic will have absolutely no choice but to at least explore, because you know what I mean, with the injury concerns with their main 2 guys, and just how good the East is. At a certain point, if you're sitting at the 7 or 8 seed by the trade deadline and Jace Richardson hasn't played a lot, play Jace Richardson and see if the shooting can add up. Or if you're 2 weeks into the season and you're one of the worst offenses in the league and that's because of the shooting, hey, play Jace Richardson, see if he can play. Or if there's an Anthony Black who's not playing well, because there's no guarantee that Anthony Black is going to remain ahead of Jace Richardson in this lineup, play Jace Richardson instead of him. You know what I mean? I think he just offers so much potentially for this offense, right? Because we know the Orlando Magic aren't going to be a bad defense. They've never been a bad defense. That's never been their problem. Their problem has really been offense. And if we're talking about the scoring in the starting lineup, I don't really have too many questions when they're all healthy. I do think they'll be able to score at least at a pretty efficient clip, unless they're playing a really good defense. Obviously, the shooting will still be a concern even in the starting lineup. But with another year of Desmond Bane, I think the scoring in the starting lineup won't be a problem. But off the bench, they'll probably need a scoring lineup, a scoring punch off the bench in the minutes where there's not going to be a Paolo or there's not going to be a Franz for whatever couple of minutes a game where neither of them is on the court, or if one of them gets injured and only one of them is playing, and you got like 20 minutes of the game where only one of them is on the court. You know what I mean? I want to emphasize this because I feel like every time I and everyone else talks about Jace Richardson, it's about his shooting, but he is truly a scorer. Like, he is a guy that can get to the basket, that can finish pause on anybody. He's a very quick player. He has a very quick first step. He's able to kind of get by anybody because of his quick first step, and that's really important because of his lack of size and everything like that. I just think his offensive upside is so high that the Magic will kind of, especially at that guard position, that the Magic will kind of have no choice but to at least experiment with him at some point throughout this season, or at least give him a chance early in the season. And if he can capitalize off of that chance, I think this is a guy that'll be in a real good spot to be in this rotation and be a real, like, 6-man bench, 6th, 7th man type of player. He won't be the 6th man, but like a 7th, 8th man type of player for this team, because I think his scoring could be a real asset to this team. Next. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. One last thing I want to say about Jace Richardson that worries me a little bit. While the Magic's defense is good, it's solid, it's never been the problem per se, it's not great. It's not going to be the top 3. I'm sure it's not going to be a top 5 unit in the league. So when you combine that with the fact that Jace Richardson is like a 6 foot, I want to say he's like 6'1", maybe I'm tripping, but I think he's like 6'1". He's not a defensive player. He's just not that guy. He's just, look at his size. I mean, he's just not the type of, it's tough to be a 6'1" defender in the NBA. You know what I mean? It's just tough to do. So I could see some times where it's just kind of like, damn, I mean, if he's not really hitting on offense, he's not going to provide anything for us, where at Anthony Black, at least, you trust his length and his size a little bit more to at least hold up on the defensive end no matter what. So I could kind of see that hurting Jace Richardson a little bit, but at a certain point, bro, the Magic got to try to win some games and stop worrying about Anthony Black or blah, 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 blah. You got to try to win some games. You got to try to see these first-round picks that we have, hey, did we waste them or not? You know what I mean? You can't sit Jace Richardson for basically 2 years of his NBA career. Play him. It's not like y'all are, you know what I mean, the #1 team in the East. Play him. Anyways, number 3, we have Trey Johnson of the Washington Wizards. And I think Trey Johnson might be my favorite player that's going into his second year in the NBA right now, except for Dylan Harper. Like, I think my favorite players going into their second year, Dylan Harper, Trey Johnson, Cooper Flagg. I absolutely have loved what I have seen from Trey Johnson. I love his offensive game. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's better than Dylan Harper. I don't think he's better than Cooper Flagg, but it's just like the way he moves with the basketball is so fluid to me. I might sound crazy, bro, but like I don't want to say it's like Kobe-like, but like the way he fades from mid-range and like his handle is very tight. Like I can't think of who it remembers me of, but his mid-range fadeaway is so good. His mid-range pull-up now is so clean and so good. He's so aggressive and quick with getting to his spots. I think he gets to his spots very comfortably, and I think that was very apparent in the summer league, where there was even times that if the 3-point shot was taken away, okay, boom, show off his handle a little bit, get to the mid range pull up, get to the floater, and get a bucket that way. And he was doing it with efficiency. Now, don't get me wrong, he ain't looking to pass. He's not a point guard. He is not the type of guy that's going to be out there like a Trae Young, where he's scoring, but he's also looking to dish it just as often, if not more than he's looking to shoot. Absolutely not. Trey Johnson's looking to score the ball, and I absolutely love that. And like I said, I don't want to sound crazy with the Kobe comparison, because I feel like every single shooting guard that has a handle like a fadeaway gets a Kobe comparison. But dude, I don't think he's going to be Kobe Bryant, but like the way he moves is so fluid, and it just is so. Like, he's so decisive. You know what I mean? He's so decisive with his movements, and he's aggressive with the ball in his hands, and I absolutely love that for this Wizards team, especially with the prospect of him starting the season at the very least, coming off of the bench. I love the thought of having a guy that's aggressive with the ball in his hands, an aggressive scorer, when you're going to have an Anthony Davis who's going to be a little older, maybe wanting to take a playoff, or who's on the bench, or you're going to have a Trae Young who I don't know, is maybe looking to pass, or you're going to have a Trae Young who also might be on the bench, because you're probably not going to play those guys on the same court together. So you're going to have Trae Young on the bench, and blah, 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 and AJ DeBonta, who's a rookie, you know what I mean? So maybe Trey Johnson will be able to come in there off this bench, and when some of those guys are sitting, and be like, yeah, I'll take the most shots on this team when it's just me, Alex Sarr, and a couple of other guys out here. When it's just me, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, and whoever out here, oh, I'll definitely take the most shots if you let me. I love that idea. I just love the thought of that. Originally, I was a guy that was very worried that with the Trae Young trade and everything like that, there's just so many guys on this team that are young and that are talented. I thought it would be kind of tough for Johnson to get enough opportunity to kind of break out and to get enough minutes to break out this year. But dude, just the more that I watch him play, the more that I kind of believe in his ability to take over that starting two spot from whoever the starting two is going to be. Now, like I said, the thing with that is like how good is the defense going to be if you have him and a Trae Young backcourt starting at the same time? That probably wouldn't be great, so I'm not sure that'll happen. But talent-wise, I love Trey Johnson's offensive game. Absolutely love it. I think the more I watch him play, the more I fall in love with his offensive game. Even though it's not perfect, please don't get me wrong. He has a lot of moves. He has a lot of counters. He has a lot of stuff that he can go to. He has a lot of places on the court where he feels comfortable shooting the ball from. And I really don't feel like there's a place where it's like, okay, boom, you take away the three-point shot, he's uncomfortable with the midi. I don't think that. I think the place he's least comfortable is maybe like finishing around the rim from what I've seen so far. But even that, I mean, with the guys on his team, will he really need to that much? You know what I mean? Like if he can just get to the rim, or if he can have a Trae Young that's getting downhill, or an AJ DeBonta that's getting downhill, I'm not sure that he'll really need to be a guy that's finishing at the rim like a Kyrie Irving. Yeah, I just love Trey Johnson, man. This is going to sound like lazy and everything like that, but I think the Wizards bench is really going to need his aggressiveness, really going to need his scoring punch and his ability and his willingness to take shots. I think Trey Johnson is going to be a guy that jumps up to like at least 15 points per game. I think his three-point efficiency is going to go up because I think last year it was like 35. I should have wrote it down because I looked it up for this video. I think it was like 35%. I don't think it was 38. I think it was like 35%. I think that'll go up this year. I think he's going to get more open shots with the guys on his team, and I also think kind of coming off that bench, he'll be facing a little bit worse defenders. And I think he'll be playing with some better lineups as well just because the team is better. It's going to be tough for defenders, man, because you can't close out too aggressively on him in spite of his ability to shoot the three, because if you do, he's just going to take you off the dribble. But then it's like if you worry about the mid-range and his ability to take you off the dribble too much, he is still an elite shooter. I don't care what that 35% says. He's still a phenomenal shooter. So absolutely love Trey Johnson's game, and I am very much looking forward to what Trey Johnson can do this season. Fourth, second to last, give me Jared McCain, man. Another guy that I absolutely have loved since coming out of college. Now, Jared McCain is the guy on this list that I've been the fan of for the longest amount of time. I've been a Jared McCain fan since high school. I loved his shooting. I loved his I loved his shooting, but I also kind of loved his attitude, right? Like I kind of felt like even when things were going wrong, things weren't going 100% right for him, I kind of felt like his attitude was always an attitude of positivity. And no matter what people may say about him, I think that's always a valuable trait to have. So I have been a fan of Jared McCain, and I was a guy that, if y'all remember, I think I either had him as like a real candidate or a dark horse candidate to win Rookie of the Year when he was a rookie. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I didn't even think it would happen, but he got hurt. But do y'all remember how great he was in that rookie year before he got hurt? What he was doing for the Philadelphia 76ers when all those guys were hurt before he got hurt? He was phenomenal. I'm talking about, I don't want to speak out both sides of my mouth, but I feel like he might have averaged 40 points. I mean, not, whoa. Average is crazy. I think he might have did he put up a 40? No, I'm tripping. He ain't put up 40. But he had some games in there. I'm talking about multiple 20-point games and everything like that. Like, he had some crazy games as a rookie when he was playing on that Philadelphia 76ers team. I thought they were insane to trade him, and I think this right here is the year. After having a full offseason with OKC, man, I think he's going to be extremely comfortable in OKC, whether he's coming off the bench or starting alongside that very good team. He's going to be playing with a good unit no matter what. He's going to be in a position no matter what to do something positive on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to be in a position where there's going to be defenders around him, and he's going to have some ability to make some impact on the offensive side of the ball no matter what. The OKC Thunder did lose some guys, right? They lost Isaiah Joe, who was their best shooter. They lost Aaron Wiggins, and then they lost Lou Dort. These are three guys who are real rotational pieces for them, real guys that are kind of playing a similar position to Jared McCain, where it's kind of like they're kind of like a two guard. You know what I mean? Lou Dort was more of a three, but you know what I mean? Like, these are kind of guys that were all in the rotation with Jared McCain. So for those guys to be gone, I think solidifies Jared McCain getting a bigger role here. I think the only question here really is does he start or does he come off the bench, right? Because I think if he starts, a lot of the time he's going to be limited to more of like a perimeter shooter, a spot-up shooter, or a guy that, you know what I mean, can occasionally take some guys off the dribble and maybe drive a kick or something, but not going to be a guy that's getting a whole bunch of shots a game. And I don't hate that for him. I think that's a good spot for him, even though I don't think it's the best spot for him to be in. I don't think it's the worst either. I think he could be efficient in that position. I think he could be valuable in that position, but I don't think that's how he would be best utilized. I think, and again, this is going to be tough because of other guys on this team, but I think he's best utilized as the sixth man on this team, where you kind of let him come out here and command, or at least be the leader of the offense a little bit more, be the guy that's supposed to take a couple of more shots than everybody else. Now, I get you might feel more comfortable with A.J. Mitchell kind of being that guy coming off the bench and everything like that, and I don't hate that idea either, but my whole point is, whether he starts or comes off the bench for the majority of this season, I think Jared McCain is going to have a very successful, much more efficient season. He's a guy that I think kind of the way he ended that season that series against San Antonio, and the way he was inefficient in that series, and he turned the ball over just a little bit too much in that series. I think that kind of left a bit of a sour taste in people's mouth. But I feel like he's so good, and I feel like I remember watching that series, and in spite of all the mistakes that I was seeing from him, I feel like I vividly remember watching that series and being like, yeah, there's a lot here that they can work with. There's a lot here that's going to be valuable, and this is going to be a guy that the NBA is going to be extremely upset that they allowed to fall into Oklahoma City's laps from. Well, not the NBA. The NBA is going to be mad at Daryl Morey for allowing this man to fall into the Oklahoma City Thunder's lap, because his shooting is one thing, right? But it's not just his shooting. He is a guy that is strong. He can bump you off of him to get once he gets to his spots, or if you're riding his hip and he's going downhill. He's a guy that can he's not the best passer, but he has a decent handle. He doesn't have the best handle, right? But he was also going against Steph Castle in that series where he was turning the ball over a lot. He doesn't have like a Kyrie Irving handle, but he doesn't have a terrible handle the way people will lead you to think, just because Steph Castle had him clamped up a little bit. Steph Castle has most people clamped up. That's just kind of what happens. But I think Jared McCain is a really talented player. I think he's the type of guy where if he were to come off of the bench this year, I think he could jump from like 8 points per game to somewhere around 15 or 16, which would be a phenomenal leap for him, and that would have him in Sixth Man of the Year and probably Most Improved Player conversations. And I think he could. I think if he does come off the bench, I do think he will end up in Sixth Man of the Year conversations and be a top 5 finisher for Sixth Man of the Year. And if he starts, I just think his ceiling is a little bit lower for what he can do this year, because at the end of the day, the ball's going to go to Shea, the ball's going to go to a healthy J-Dub before it's going to go to a Jared McCain, and if he's starting, just to be honest. But if he comes off the bench, he's in my top 3 favorites to win Sixth Man of the Year. And whether that's him or A.J. Mitchell coming off that bench, they're in my top 3 favorites to win Sixth Man of the Year, because whoever it is, whichever one of them it is coming off that bench, if they can take over and handle that responsibility to the best of their abilities, they will be in the spotlight for Sixth Man of the Year, and they will be leading a bench unit that, while it's not terrible, isn't as good as it's been in the past either. And then last but not least, this is my guy who I think probably my favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year, unless Dylan Harper doesn't end up starting at some point this year. Terrence Shannon Jr., man. Similarly to a few guys on this list, he's going to have a much, much bigger role on his team this year. The Wolves, they lose a lot of depth this offseason. They lost Julius Randle. They lose Naz Reid in the same offseason, and that all sucks. And these are guys that were a little bit... Terrence Shannon Jr. is not really a 3 or a 4. He's more of a 2 or a 3. But these are guys that were, in theory, ahead of him on the depth chart and everything like that. And now, with this team being the way it is, where they add LaMelo Ball, who's a playmaker, you kind of know what the starting lineup of this team's going to be. But after that, you are looking for a lot of help on this bench. There's not a lot of guys that you really trust on this bench, and I think everybody agrees that the most capable scorer on this bench is Terrence Shannon Jr. Well, Dante DiVincenzo's still there, so maybe, but you know what I mean? I think Terrence Shannon Jr. has the best ability on this team to score from the highest multitude of spots. I think Dante DiVincenzo might be the most efficient shooter and everything like that on this team, but if we're talking about pure score, where we're talking about get downhill in transition, get to the basket, can pull up from mid-range, can shoot the 3 ball, give me Terrence Shannon Jr. off this bench over anybody else, man. He's very athletic. He's a capable and willing scorer. He's a good shooter, and I think the best thing about his game is that he can fit alongside either LaMelo Ball or Anthony Edwards offensively. He can play with both of them, and I think he can even play with neither of them. Now, obviously, it'll be much harder for him to score at an efficient clip with neither of them on the court. But I think with his shooting ability, he's a guy that realistically could play on the court with both of them at the same time. And I think that's going to be huge because with his size, I think he's an inch or two taller than Ayo Dosunmu. I'm not sure about his wingspan, but I think he's just a little bit bigger of a guy than Ayo Dosunmu is. I could see them wanting him to start at the 3 come towards the end of the season, or spend some time kind of flipping and flopping between starting at the 3 with Ayo Dosunmu for the defensive purposes. Because Ayo Dosunmu, while he is a good player, I don't love the prospect of him as a 3 guard or as a small forward in the NBA guarding a Kevin. Well, they're not going to put him on a Kevin Durant, but you're gonna have to, because then who do you have guard the 4s of all of these teams? You know what I mean? If you're gonna have if you're gonna be, let's say you play the Philadelphia 76ers or something. Let's say you play them and you got to put Ant on Maxey. You got to put LaMelo on VJ. You got to put or maybe you put Ant on JB. You put Jaden McDaniels on Maxey, you put LaMelo on VJ, and then it's like, okay, Ayo Dosunmu goes on LeBron James? No, you don't really want that. So what's Ayo Dosunmu going to do? Who's he guarding? Is he guarding VJ and Ant's guarding LeBron? You know what I mean? It's just not the best. And I think while Terrence Shannon Jr. isn't the best defender, isn't the most capable defender, I do think because of his scoring ability and because of the fact that he's a little bit of a bigger body, I could see him taking over that that starting three role from Ayo Dosunmu. And even if he doesn't, though, I think he's going to be a phenomenal 6-man for this team. I think he's going to be a guy where the whole kind of floor is going to be open for him. And I think especially in those minutes where he's playing alongside LaMelo Ball, I think he's going to have a lot of success. I think LaMelo's going to be able to kind of get him open. They're going to be able to play well off of each other a lot. I have a lot of hope in Terrence Shannon Jr., and I think the biggest reason that I have hope in him is that we have to. If you're going to be high on the Timberwolves this year, you kind of have to be high on Terrence Shannon Jr. because there's not much else, like we said, that's coming off that bench that you really, really, really trust to score night in and night out, especially when we come to the playoffs where you're going to see an OKC or you're going to see a San Antonio, and you're going to need a little bit of a punch off the bench because you aren't just going to be able to rely on whatever Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and whatever scoring Jaden McDaniels gives you. You're going to need more than that, and especially when it comes to the shooting, you're going to need more than what they have coming off that bench. And I do think Terrence Shannon Jr. is a guy who can come off the bench, who can provide whatever type of scoring the Wolves should need in whatever moment, as long as his defense can improve. If he can be a real defender, if he can be a guy that isn't the point of attack to the level of Jaden McDaniels, but is at least serviceable enough to where he's better, he's not a terrible defender, he's not a fall-off defensively, and he can maybe be a better plug-and-play defender than an Ayo Dosunmu, who you might want coming off your bench a little more, I do think he could take that starting 3 spot. I just do. Unless they make another move, unless something happens there, I do think he's a guy that could take that starting small 4 spot. But hey, man, let me know what y'all think about everything I said in this video. Let me know what players y'all think are going to break out next season. Let me know if y'all think I was tripping or anything like that. Next video we're going to have, what should it be? I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. I don't think I've decided yet. But let me know what y'all want to see, man. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching as always. And please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please keep God first as always, all right? Because he loves you and so do I. All right, peace.